Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, Attorney Kim Hegwood with Hegwood Law Group, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning and welcome to Life Happens. And just like we talked about a while ago, my very special guest today is Laura Wayman, the Dementia Whisperer. So I'm super excited to see you again.
It's so good to see you too. Thank you so much. We are making this a regular thing and I'm happy about that.
I know. It's like when you've got somebody that has good stuff, you just want to spread the word. And so I'm super excited about it. So today we're going to, since we're right in the middle of the holidays, we're going to talk about making it through the HOLI-DAZE. And so I thought that was really cute. And so, the holidays are here and, and families are coming in. And I don't know about your house, but mine is usually chaos between the getting ready for Christmas and cooking and family coming in. It's usually wild. And so, because they all come to my house, for the holidays. So why is it important in the middle of all of this to keep routines?
Well, we all know that it's difficult for someone with Alzheimer's or any cause of dementia symptoms. It's so difficult for them to learn something new because they have to think and process. So, and think about how difficult it is for you, Kim, with all these changes coming at you. It's stressful. It's fun, but your healthy brain can process that and make sense of it. But it becomes this mishmash of information for somebody who has dementia symptoms and having difficulty processing. So we understand as caregivers, as professionals, as those that have really put the time in to do research, to study about what helps these folks that have this loss, that routine plays a really important part for them. It's comforting and gives them those feelings of security when they don't have to think, basically, because they have a broken thinker. With so many changes going on and schedules changing and maybe the caregivers working different shifts or has to take some time out for shopping and different visitors are coming in, and all of these changes affect that person who's having challenges thinking about all of this going on, and consistency helps them to not have to go through that process of thinking, and all of these things make them feel so anxious.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And so most definitely, because I have a routine. I get up, I go make coffee. And so it's like, gotta have that steps in order. And so, let's talk about something, because one of the things that, I've seen and read and heard a lot of things about is music therapy and things like that. When you think about how good that is for a lot of people, how about Christmas songs and things like that? Is all of those things still good? I mean, Christmas music itself or traditional music, or which, is it one better than the other?
Well, once again, let's go back to raising dementia awareness, because what remains when someone has this brain function loss, their feelings and emotions remain. So when they access a familiar song and how it makes them feel, it's very calming. So what traditional music and Christmas carols brings about is these feelings of reminiscing about holidays in the past and how we feel. And so anytime that individual is around music, it's all about how it makes them feel. And often, singing songs that are familiar to them, they may not be able to finish a sentence because they can't process verbally how to talk or speak or understand language. But those familiar Christmas carols, they're able to sing those through. And so there's this feeling of accomplishment and just value that comes about when we allow them to have those traditional familiar feelings that come along with holiday music. So it's soothing and it brings back those recollections of holiday celebrations. And, you know, don't forget to look outside your house for help. Maybe there's some carolers at the mall or something like that that you can enjoy with your loved one to give them that little bit of recollection, reminiscence of times in the past.
So is it still important to kind of do the same things that you do every year? Because I know that, we always eat lunch and then we open presents, so is it really important to maintain those traditions even though your loved one may not remember a bunch of them?
Absolutely. And it's, once again, it's about them not necessarily remembering, but recollecting how these things make you feel. So Kim, when you talk about this this tradition of opening presents, our family would open presents in the morning, but other families might open presents in the evening. It's all about that kind of that muscle memory of our brain and how that makes us feel. So it's just easier for someone who has this kind of brain function loss. It's easier for them to slip into something that's familiar because they don't have to think about it quite so much. And once again, it's all about how that makes you feel. And you want to think about how you can involve your loved one in fun traditions that make them feel good. Maybe it's a little thing like making hot spice cider and then enjoying that together. It's finding those meaningful moments that they can also feel loved, safe, secure, and valued.
Good. So during this time, I know we've talked, I think, in the past in regards to, continuing to practice, dementia-aware communication and a loving care approach. Can you kind of revisit that so that, our listeners can have a really good idea on what those things, just kind of reiterate them, because I think repetition is always good.
And this takes practice because I'm asking you to change the way that you've always communicated with an adult. Dementia-aware dialogue, it will help ease that pressure that comes along with holidays. And especially when you connect and engage with them, you plan the holidays together, but make sure you're keeping it simple, not a lot of things all at once, and focus on bringing things in that bring you both happiness, and try to avoid activities that seem a bit overwhelming or stressful. Sometimes there's just too much to an activity, so you need to simplify. And always have a plan B in place in case they begin to feel overwhelmed or anxious. Because remember, they're getting hit with stimuli that, although you're trying to keep it traditional and familiar, they're also going to be hit with new stimuli. That just happens, and it can really disrupt the whole holiday. So I always like to tell caregivers to have a quiet room. And if other people, you've got lots of visitors coming over, make small groups, but make sure that there's a place where you can take your loved one in the room and just rest and have quiet and let their brain relax, because you're asking them to do a lot of thinking. And listening's not the only form of communication. Watch for their behaviors, maybe some nervous habits or unsettling movements. Maybe they're just getting restless. That might lead to overstimulation, maybe some outbursts or other actions. So make sure you're watching, listening, filtering information for them. Only give them the information they can handle in the moment. And realize that they're being overstimulated just with little things that happen on the holidays. And it can be very overwhelming. It might even interrupt their sleep patterns. So, everything has to be adjusted. They have to be that hub, and really watch how they are processing.
So most people, I say most caregivers, usually when they're men, and I know that sounds very sexist, and I apologize, but I find that a lot of men have a real reluctance asking for help, because they're the strong guys. They're the guys that, are supposed to be, the ones that can do everything, and they don't need any help. My grandfather was one of them. So, but it really is important to ask for help, especially during times that are a lot more chaotic, but just to maintain that caregiver's mental health as well. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And I'm going to join you in a little bit of a sexist perception here, because what I find, especially when that caregiver is the husband and has always been that provider and has always been that person that comes to the table with solutions, because they've in the past always been able to stop, change, or fix it. And one of the dementia aware mantras is that we cannot stop, fix, or change the symptoms, the behaviors. There's no way to stop it, recover, cure it, but we have to get good at really maintaining and managing. And so joining their feelings, connecting with them, allowing them to feel, those are all things where we have to kind of give up that ability to stop, change, or fix it. And it's hard for some men who have always been able to do that all their life. It's hard for them to ask for help, because in the past, they've always been it. They've always been the one that could find those solutions. But asking for help makes such a difference. I'm working with a lovely gentleman as doing a lot of consulting and counseling for him. And his wife has Alzheimer's, and she's young. She's only 65, and she has pretty advanced. When they're younger like that, it often advances quite quickly. And he just now is getting to where he's asking for help, but he is exhausted. I just admire these caregivers so much, because they give 150% and then some. But as she has advanced, he just really is starting to ask for help. And he was looking at the holidays coming up, and he just knew this year he just couldn't do it alone. So, it complicates the already overwhelming responsibilities of being a caregiver when these holidays come along, and it just, we glaze over, and even with a healthy brain. So we need to pull back and ask for help. And we don't want you to leave the holidays feeling emotionally and physically exhausted. You're already that every day anyway as a caregiver, but we don't want to pile more on you. So, plan ahead and give yourself the opportunity to take a few hours that is yours, even if it's just a bubble bath after your loved one is safe and secure in bed, or just even a quick walk around the yard, whatever you can find to take care of yourself. Kim, we've talked about this before, but 68% of the time that caregiver goes first.
I know.
Due to this overwhelming impact, especially if it's a same age spouse. So don't let the holidays be that one more straw that basically breaks the camel's back. We have to keep you strong as well. You're such an important part as that caregiver of this relationship.
Yeah, we tell clients that all the time. You gotta take a break. You gotta rest. It's for your own safety, and and sometimes you just have to get hard and say, if you don't, you're going to go first, and then what's going to happen to them?
Absolutely.
So sometimes putting it in perspective helps, and sometimes you just have to kind of use the hammer to to get your point across. But you try to I've been blessed that I've had a lot of good clients, and and they're really pretty good about really working to take suggestions, and the ones that struggle, we just kind of keep after them the best we can, because it's so important. And so, well, I guess now's a good time to tell you Merry Christmas, and
thank you
for being on the show. And we look forward to seeing you next year.
Merry Christmas to you, Kim, and thank you so much for this opportunity. And everybody, go forth and stay in a holiday, not a holidays, and go forth and help raise dementia awareness. So important.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.